Good morning. This is your sensei, Mr. Spensei, and this is an assignment, a multiple choice assignment on errors. So, a police officer used a motion detector to indicate whether a car is traveling faster than the speed limit. A ticket will be issued to the driver of the car if the officer believes the driver is speeding, as indicated by the detector. So if they're speeding, they get a ticket. The situation is similar to using a null and alternative hypothesis to determine not whether to issue a ticket. The hypothesis can be stated as follows. All right, the driver is speeding, or the driver is not speeding because we assume innocence. So notice the word not, or the driver is speeding. All right, so it says which of the following best describes power of the test? Well, power of the test by definition is rejecting when you're supposed to reject. Power is correctly rejecting. All right. Now we're talking about tickets. Now, one thing you got to keep in mind, this is power is correctly rejecting. So the driver is not speeding. Well, that means no ticket. And this one is ticket. Well, this is power, so we have to reject. And we made the correct decision. So the driver is speeding and we give him a ticket, and we did not make an error because this is power. Power is not an error. Probability of issuing a ticket to a driver who is speeding because we did it correctly. All right. The officer did it correctly. All right. The next question, the police officer uses the motion detector, same thing. But the question this time is, which of the following best describes a type 2 error? Well, in a type 2 error, we believe HO, but it's false. So this is going to be no ticket. Once again, no ticket. And this is ticket. All right. So we believe this. We believe they're not speeding, so they don't get a ticket, but they should have gotten a ticket. All right. Because remember, type 2, fail to. Type 2, fail to. So we failed to reject this, but it was false. So which of the following best describes it? The probability of issuing a ticket? No, we're not issuing a ticket because we believe that they're not speeding. The probability of issuing a ticket who is not speeding? We're not issuing a ticket. So those are gone because we're not issuing a ticket. The probability of not issuing a ticket to a driver who is speeding. So basically, they're not speeding. All right, because we believe this, but this was the truth. So the truth is the driver is speeding, but we believe they're not speeding, so they don't get a ticket. No ticket. All right, we have the same police officer situation, so I'm not going to read it, but the question is, which of the following best describes a type 1? Well, a type 1 we have to reject. All right. So once again, the driver is not speeding, so no ticket. The driver is speeding, they get a ticket. All right. Now, with the type 1, we reject this, but it was the truth. This is the lie. So we believe the driver is speeding, but they're not, so they get a ticket. So we believe the driver is speeding, but they're not. So the driver is not speeding, but we made an error and we give them a ticket anyway. So the probability of issuing a ticket to who is speeding, that's not an error. Issuing a ticket to someone who's speeding, not an error. All right, that's power. That's not an error. Next one, the probability of issuing a ticket to a driver who is not speeding. Yes, we're issuing a ticket to the driver. All right, so issuing a ticket, but they're actually not speeding. The truth is they were not speeding. All right, the not issuing isn't correct because we rejected the no ticket in favor of the ticket. All right, hope that helps. Keep going on to the next scenario. So scenario 4. A doctor uses a new diagnostic test to indicate whether a patient has a certain disease. The doctor will prescribe medication for the patient if the doctor believes the patient has the disease as indicated by the diagnostic test. This situation is similar to a null hypothesis. The hypothesis can be stated as follows. The patient does not have the disease. All right. So what will they do if they have the disease? Well, they'll prescribe medication. So this is meds, and this is no meds. All right. Now, which of the following best describes the probability of type 1 error? All right. Remember, this is a truth, and this is the lie. So, does not, excuse me. Wrote that wrong. This is no meds, because if the patient doesn't have the disease, they get no meds. If they have the disease, they get meds. So the truth is they do not have the disease. The lie is that they have the disease, or the mistake is that they have the disease. Well, type 1 error means we have to reject. All right. So we rejected the truth. All right. The truth is they don't have the disease, but we believe that they do have the disease. So we give them meds. All right. So we're going to issue meds. All right. So the probability of the new test indicates the disease in a patient who has the disease. That's not an error. If they have the disease and the test says so, not an error. All right. So this is not an error. This is nothing wrong with that. The probability of the new test indicates the disease in one who does not. So that we know that they don't. That's the truth. They don't, but we believe they do. So that was a lie. That's what we believe. All right. So the same scenario. So without reading it, what does it say? Which of the following is the probability of a type 2? Well, type 2, don't forget, is a fail 2. All right. And it's an error. So this is the lie, and this is the truth. So we believe the patient does not have the disease, but they do. All right. And by the way, this is no meds. Because if they don't have the disease, they don't get meds. If they do have the disease, they do get meds. So we believe the patient does not have the disease, but they do. The test indicates that they don't, but they have the disease. All right. So the probability a new test indicates the disease in a patient who has the disease, not an error. Because that's correctly identifying someone who has the disease. But we believe they don't have the disease. All right. So we're believing this. The probability the new test does not indicate the disease in a patient who has the disease. This is correct. We believe the patient does not have the disease. That was a lie because they actually do have it. All right. Number 6, that's the same scenario. All right. So a test of significance was run with it resulted in a p-value 0.0031 as compared with an alpha level of 0.01. Which type of error could have been committed? So if we have 0.0031, that's our p-value, and we have an alpha of 0.01. So 31 is less than 100, so we're going to reject. If you reject, the only type of error that you could have made is a type 1. All right? If you reject, the only type of error that you could have made is a type 1. All right, moving on to the next problem. All right, we're still continuing with the same scenario. All right. And this time we have a p-value of 0.031 with an alpha of 0.01. So we changed our alpha, not our alpha level, but our p-value, 0.031, alpha, 0.01, make them the same length. So 031, 310. Well, this is greater. That means we're going to fail to reject. All right. And remember, fail to type 2. So the only type of p-value that could have been committed was a type 2 error because the p-value was greater or larger than the alpha. Still continuing, now continuing with a different one. The medical doctor uses a diagnostic test to determine whether a patient has arthritis. So treatment will be prescribed only if the doctor thinks the patient has arthritis. The situation is similar to a null and alternative hypothesis to decide whether to prescribe the treatment. The hypothesis may be stated as follows. The patient does not have arthritis. Okay, well, no treatment. This will be no treatment. If they don't have arthritis, that's no treatment. If they do have arthritis, that's treatment. Okay, so it says, which of the following best represent a type 2? Well, remember, type 2 is a fail to. All right, type 2 is a fail to. So we believe the hoe, but it's a lie. This is the truth. All right, so we believe the patient does not have arthritis, so they don't get a treatment, but they really needed the treatment because they do have arthritis. We believe that they don't, but the truth is they do. All right, so we diagnosing arthritis in a patient who has arthritis. That is not an error. That's power. That's correctly rejecting. All right. Failing to diagnose. Yep, we did not diagnose in a patient who has arthritis. We believe they don't, but they actually do. So our answer choice to number 8 is B. Number 9, a medical doctor uses a diagnostic test to determine, same scenario, so I'm not going to read it. It says, which of the following is a type 1? Well, type 1 is a rejection. It's actually rejecting a true null. So this is the truth, but we believe this. All right. The truth is the patient does not have arthritis, but we believe they do. So in this case, this is no treatment, and this is treatment. That's the result. So in this case, we believe that we rejected that. They don't have arthritis, and we believe that they do have arthritis. So once again, this is power. That's not an error. Failing to diagnose. No, we didn't fail because we rejected that. That would have been not diagnosing. This is, we diagnosed it. We said that we believe they have arthritis, but they actually do not. All right. So the answer to number 9 is C. All right. Continuing on, moving on to number 10. All right. We have the same arthritis problem, so I'm not going to read it. The null is the patient does not have arthritis. The alternative is the patient does. What represents power? Well, power is correctly rejecting the null. A correct reject. All right. So this was a lie. This is the truth. All right. Power is not an error. So in this case, we rejected that they don't, and we believe that they do, and we were right. All right. So we diagnose arthritis in a patient who has arthritis. We believe the patient has arthritis. I mean, we reject this. We believe this, and it was right. Diagnosing arthritis in the patient who has arthritis. It's correctly rejecting the hoe. All right. We rejected the lying hoe. So a statistical test involves the following null and alternative hypothesis. The mean is 64. The mean is greater than 64. Which of the following describes a type 2? All right, remember, type 2 is a fail to. Type 2, fail to. So we believe this, and this is the truth. So we believe the lie, and this is the truth. So failing to reject the null when the population mean is 64. Well, we should fail to, if it's 64, why would we reject it? That's correct. That's correct. That's not an error. All right. The next one, failing to reject when the population is greater. Yes, we fail to reject and we when it's actually greater than 64. All right. We believed the hoe, but it was false. We believe the lying hoe. Shame on you. All right. Number 12. A statistical test involves the following null and alternative hypothesis. The mean is 64, mean is greater than 64. Same problem. Which of the following is a type 1? Well, type 1 is a reject. All right. Type 1 means we have to reject. And turns out this is the truth. This is the lie. But we reject the true and we believe this. So we rejected the 64. We believe this. So we rejected that it was 64 and it was actually the truth. All right. So we need to reject the 64. So failing to reject can't be. So it has to be a rejecting, but rejecting the null hypothesis when the mean is actually 64. Yeah, we rejected it when it was actually 64. That's what it means by truth. All right. Continuing on, number 13. Which of the following describes power of the test? Well, power is correctly rejecting the hoe. Power means you rejected and you're supposed to. All right. So they're asking for power. This means this is a lie. We rejected it. This is a truth. We believe it. So we rejected that and we believe the null. So failing to reject is gone because power is always going to be rejection. Rejecting the null hypothesis when the mean is 64. Well, that's an error. Rejecting it when it's actually that's an error. All right, that's actually a type 1 error because you rejected. That's a type 1 error. Rejecting the null when it is greater than 64. Rejecting the lie when this is the truth, that's power. All right. Once again, it can't be a failing to reject. Consider the result of a hypothesis test which indicate there is not enough evidence to reject the null. Which of the following statements about error is correct? Oh, if we don't have enough evidence, we're going to fail to reject. Fail to reject is a type 2. So in this case, we have not enough evidence. So this is incorrect. A type 2 error could have been made, but not a type 1. So the answer to number 14 is B. All right, the answer number 14 is B. We could have made a type 2, but we could not have made a type 1. Number 15. Consider the results of a hypothesis test which indicates there is enough evidence to reject the null. Which of the following statements about error is correct? All right. So with error, they said, in this case, there is enough. If we have enough, that means we can reject. If we reject, the only type of error that we could have made is a type 1. So our answer choice is A. Number 16, an environmentalist wants to test the null hypothesis that an anti-pollution device is not effective. Which of the following would be a type 1 is committed? So let's look at this. And I need a piece of paper, so here we go. 1, the hoe, not effective. The ha is it is effective. All right, so we're looking at a type 1. Well, the type 1, this is the truth, and this is the lie. All right? But with the type 1, you have to reject. So we rejected this, and we believe it is effective. All right, it's actually not effective, and we believe that it is effective. The scientists conclude the device is effective when it's actually not effective. All right, so once again, this was the truth, but we rejected it. This is the lie, and this is what we believed. So we believed that it was effective when in fact it was not. Okay, number 17. Continuing with the same problem. What would be a type 2? Well, type 2, we have the same, I'm going to rewrite that. With the type 2, we're still going to have the same hoe and the same ha, but the results are different. So the hoe is, we believe it's not effective, or that's the claim. The ha is, it is effective. Well, remember, a type 2 is a failed 2. All right? So first off, we believe this, and this is a lie. So we believe the lying hoe, and this was the truth. All right? So we believe that it's not effective. All right, but that was a lie. It really is effective. So type 2, we believe that it wasn't effective when it actually was. That's letter B. Concludes that the anti-pollution is not effective when it actually is. All right. Which of the following best interpretation of power? Power is correctly rejecting the null. All right. So power is correctly rejecting the null. In other words, it's detecting an effect when it exists. All right. Detecting a problem with the hoe when it exists. All right. So the hoe, basically, we're saying the hoe is false and we rejected it. All right. Well, I appreciate you watching. I hope this helps, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thank you.